The ultimatum and hidden preparations. The message that changed everything. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Harmony, watching the massive alien station grow larger through the viewports. The Galactic Council's central command was a monument to their power, stretching for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. Crystalline spires twisted around metallic cores, each section designed by one of the 12 ruling species. To most humans, it was beautiful. To Elena, it felt like a prison. She had been Earth's primary diplomatic representative for 3 years, ever since the Council had grudgingly allowed humanity to join as a junior member. The title meant nothing. Humans were treated like children who needed constant supervision. They were given mining rights to dead systems, allowed to establish small colonies on worthless worlds, and told to be grateful for the privilege. Today felt different. The summons had come without warning, and the alien officials who escorted her through the station's corridors seemed more hostile than usual. The Zephyrian guide, a tall being with crystalline skin and 4 arms, hadn't spoken a single word during the entire journey. Even the translation device remained silent. The council chamber was exactly as Elena remembered from her last visit. 12 elevated platforms arranged in a perfect circle, each one occupied by a representative of the galaxy's ruling species. At the center was a small human-sized platform, where she was expected to stand and wait to be addressed. The symbolism was impossible to miss. High Counselor Thextar of the Dominion spoke first. His species looked like enormous centipedes with sophisticated cybernetic enhancements. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who commanded fleets capable of destroying star systems. Human Vasquez, your species has been granted privileges far beyond what your primitive development should allow. The Council has been exceedingly generous. Elena kept her expression neutral. We appreciate the opportunities the Council has provided, High Counselor. Humanity has always honored our agreements. A different voice interrupted, this one belonging to Counselor Vrath of the Hegemony. The Hegemony were living metal beings who could reshape their bodies at will. Honored your agreements. You mean you've done exactly what we told you to do because you had no choice. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are barely capable of interstellar travel. Other council members made sounds that Elena's translator interpreted as laughter. She felt heat rising in her cheeks, but forced herself to remain calm. 3 years of diplomatic training had taught her that showing anger would only make things worse. High Counselor Thextar raised one of his mechanical appendages for silence. That brings us to why you are here. The Centauri system contains dark matter deposits of significant value. This resource is far too dangerous for a developing species to handle. You will evacuate all human presence from the system within 15 standard days. Elena's heart stopped. The Centauri system housed 4 human colonies with a combined population of 3.2 million people. These weren't just outposts or mining stations. They were established worlds with cities, schools, hospitals, and generations of families who had made these planets their home. High Counselor, Elena said carefully, the Centauri colonies have been humanity's home for over 50 years. Millions of people live there. We've built entire civilizations on those worlds. Surely we can discuss some kind of arrangement. Counselor Vrath's metallic form shifted into what might have been a dismissive gesture. The dark matter in that system could destabilize the local galactic arm if handled improperly. Primitive species cannot be trusted with such responsibility. The decision has been made. What happens to our people? Elena asked, though she dreaded the answer. They will be relocated to labor assignments throughout the galaxy, Thextar replied. The Council has need of workers for mining operations, agricultural development, and basic construction projects. It is more useful work than your species has ever performed. Elena felt sick. They were talking about enslaving 3.2 million human beings. And if we refuse? The chamber filled with more alien laughter. Counselor Zixera of the Collective, a hive mind species that looked like walking crystals, spoke for the first time. Your entire military consists of perhaps 400 ships. The Council commands over 50,000 vessels. If you refuse, we will simply take the system by force and relocate your people anyway. The difference is that resistance will be treated as an act of rebellion. High Counselor Thextar's cybernetic eye focused on Elena. Rebellious populations require more intensive management. Work camps instead of colony assignments. Reduced rations. Separation of families. I trust you understand the implications. Elena understood perfectly. Comply, and her people would be enslaved. Resist, and they would be enslaved under even worse conditions. The Council saw humanity as nothing more than a useful resource to be managed and exploited. 15 days, Thextar continued. Begin evacuations immediately. Any humans found in the Centauri system after that deadline will be considered criminals interfering with Council operations. This audience is concluded. The journey home. The flight back to Earth took 18 hours, but Elena spent every minute of it thinking about what she had just heard. The casual way the aliens had discussed enslaving millions of humans was horrifying. They didn't see her people as sentient beings with rights and dignity. They saw them as livestock. When the Harmony finally reached Earth's orbital stations, Elena was met by a priority shuttle that took her directly to the Global Defense Headquarters in Geneva. The building was a testament to human cooperation, constructed jointly by every nation on Earth after first contact with the galactic community. Today, it felt like a monument to their helplessness. President Chen Wei was waiting for her in the secure briefing room, along with Admiral Sarah Cross and several other high-ranking officials. Elena had worked with all of them before, but today their faces looked grim in a way she had never seen. "How bad is it?" President Chen asked as soon as Elena entered the room. Elena played the recording of her meeting with the Council. The room remained silent throughout the entire playback. When it finished, the silence stretched for several long moments. 3.2 million people, Admiral Cross said finally. They want to enslave 3.2 million people, and they're talking about it like it's a business transaction. 15 days, President Chen added. They expect us to abandon 50 years of colonization effort in 15 days. Elena nodded. And if we refuse, they'll take the system by force anyway. They made it very clear that resistance would only make things worse for our people. Dr. Marcus Chen, the president's scientific advisor, leaned forward. Elena, did they give any indication of how they plan to extract the dark matter? Any technical details? Elena shook her head. They just said it was too dangerous for a primitive species to handle. Why? Dr. Chen looked at President Chen, who nodded slightly. Because we need to know how much time we have, and because there's something we need to show you. The hidden truth. 2 hours later, Elena found herself in a secure transport heading toward a classified facility in the Rocky Mountains. The location was so secret that even she, as Earth's chief diplomatic representative, had never heard of it. The facility was built into the mountain itself, with multiple layers of security that included biometric scanners, quantum encryption locks, and armed guards. Dr. Chen led her through a series of corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered with technical diagrams and star charts that Elena couldn't interpret. Scientists and engineers hurried past them, all wearing the same expression of intense focus. "What is this place?" Elena asked. "The Dark Matter Research Institute," Dr. Chen replied. "We've been working here for 8 years, ever since we first discovered dark matter deposits in the Centauri system." They emerged into a massive underground chamber that took Elena's breath away. The space was hundreds of meters across and filled with equipment she had never seen before. Massive cylindrical structures hummed with energy, while banks of computers processed data at incredible speeds. But what really caught her attention were the technical drawings displayed on the walls. They showed ships, but not like any ships humanity had ever built. These were sleek, angular vessels that seemed to bend light around them. They looked more like works of art than military hardware. "My God," Elena whispered. "What are those?" "The Shadow Fleet," Admiral Cross said, appearing beside them. Elena hadn't even noticed her arrival. 50 dark matter-powered warships, each one more advanced than anything the Galactic Council has ever seen. Elena stared at the designs. This is impossible. Our technology is decades behind theirs. Everyone knows that. Dr. Chen smiled for the first time since she had met him. That's what we wanted them to think. The truth is, we've been studying dark matter for longer than any species in the galaxy. While they've been content to use it as a power source, we've been learning to manipulate it directly. The Council thinks they understand dark matter, Admiral Cross added. They mine it, refine it, and burn it in their reactors. But they've never learned to weaponize it. We have. Elena walked closer to one of the technical displays. The ship shown there was called the Shadow Blade, and its specifications were staggering. It could travel at speeds that would make it effectively invisible to conventional sensors. Its weapons could phase through normal matter and strike directly at the quantum level. Its defenses could shift it partially out of normal space, making it nearly impossible to target. How many people know about this? Elena asked. Fewer than 1,000, President Chen replied. We've been building these ships in secret facilities throughout the outer solar system. The Council thinks our asteroid mining operations are just basic resource extraction. They have no idea we've been constructing the most advanced fleet in galactic history. Admiral Cross activated a holographic display that showed the outer solar system. What Elena had thought were simple mining platforms were revealed to be massive shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt and beyond. The scale of the operation was breathtaking. We've been preparing for this day for 8 years, Admiral Cross continued. We knew the Council would eventually decide that humanity was too successful for their comfort. They'd done this to other species before. The difference is that we've been ready. Elena felt a mix of hope and disbelief. You're talking about fighting the entire Galactic Council. They have 50,000 ships. And we have 50 ships that can destroy 1,000 of theirs, Dr. Chen replied. Dark matter weapons don't just damage enemy vessels. They erase them from existence entirely. Their shields and armor are completely useless against quantum-level attacks. Admiral Cross brought up another display showing tactical simulations. We've run every possible scenario. The Council's ships are large, heavily armored, and numerous. But they're also slow, predictable, and dependent on conventional physics. Our ships can phase in and out of normal space, strike from impossible angles, and disappear before the enemy can respond. The Council has ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, President Chen said. They've grown arrogant and complacent. They expect every species to bow down to their superior technology and firepower. They've never faced an enemy that could match them ship for ship. Elena looked around the chamber at all the advanced technology, the dedicated scientists, and the detailed planning that had gone into this project. How long have you been planning this? Since the day we first made contact with the Council, Admiral Cross replied. We saw how they treated other species. We watched them destroy civilizations that got too successful or too independent. We knew that someday they would come for us too. Dr. Chen nodded. The dark matter deposits in Centauri weren't just a lucky discovery. We've been secretly mining them for years, using the extracted material to power our research in ship construction. The Council thinks they're giving us an ultimatum, but they're actually walking into a trap 8 years in the making. Elena felt her perspective shifting. Everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the galaxy was wrong. They weren't weak, primitive, or helpless. They had been carefully preparing for this moment, building weapons that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. What happens now? She asked. Admiral Cross smiled, and for the first time in years, Elena saw real confidence in her eyes. Now we send a message back to the Galactic Council. We tell them that humanity respectfully declines their generous offer. And then we show them what happens when they underestimate the species they see as primitive pets. The Council thinks they're about to enslave another weak civilization, President Chen added. They're about to learn that they've picked a fight with the one species in the galaxy that's been preparing to take them down. As Elena looked around the secret facility, watching hundreds of humans working with dedication and precision to defend their species, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. The Galactic Council was about to discover that their greatest mistake wasn't underestimating human technology. It was underestimating human determination. The battle that changed everything. The Council's preparation. High Counselor Thextar stood in the command center of the Council's greatest warship, the Galactic Dominion. The massive vessel was over 8 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Around him, tactical displays showed the positions of 1,200 Council warships as they prepared to enter the Centauri system. Status report, Thextar demanded. Fleet Admiral Korthax of the Hegemony approached the command platform. His metallic body gleamed under the chamber's lights as he shifted into a more formal configuration. All battle groups are in position, High Counselor. We have overwhelming superiority in every category. 1,200 vessels against perhaps 50 human ships. Counselor Vrath materialized beside them, his form rippling like liquid metal. Our intelligence suggests the humans have fewer than 30 combat-capable vessels in the system. Most of their fleet consists of cargo ships and mining platforms. Thextar's cybernetic eye focused on the tactical display and their response to our ultimatum. They sent a single message. Admiral Korthax replied, activating a holographic display. Quote, "Humanity respectfully declines the Council's offer. We suggest you reconsider your position." End quote. The command center filled with the sounds of alien laughter. Counselor Zixera of the Collective spoke through the chamber's communication system, her crystalline voice carrying amusement. They suggest we reconsider our position. These primitives think they can negotiate with the combined might of the Galactic Council. Thextar raised one of his mechanical appendages for silence. Their arrogance will make their defeat more satisfying. Admiral Korthax, begin the assault. I want those colonies reduced to ash within the hour. Leave no human infrastructure intact. What about prisoners? Vrath asked. The work camps could use additional laborers. No prisoners, Thextar replied coldly. This will serve as an example to every species in the galaxy. This is what happens when primitives refuse to obey their betters. The massive Council fleet began moving toward the inner system. Each ship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, representing thousands of years of technological advancement. The smallest vessels were larger than Earth's greatest battleships. The largest ones were mobile space stations capable of bombarding entire continents. As they approached the Centauri system, Admiral Korthax studied the sensor readings. High Counselor, something is unusual. We're detecting very few human ships in the system. Most of their colonies appear to be defended by orbital platforms and ground-based weapons. Thextar's cybernetic eye whirred as it processed this information. They're hiding in the outer system, waiting to ambush us with their pathetic fleet. It doesn't matter. We have enough firepower to destroy every asteroid in this system if necessary. But something felt wrong. In his centuries of military service, Thextar had learned to trust his instincts. The humans were acting too confidently for a species facing extinction. Their message had been polite but firm, showing no signs of the panic he expected from a doomed civilization. Maintain alert status, he ordered. These humans may be primitive, but they've shown cunning before. The trap springs. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the Shadowblade, watching the massive alien fleet approach through sensors that could detect ships from light years away. The Council vessels were impressive, but they moved with the predictable formations of a military that had never faced a truly challenging opponent. Enemy fleet entering the system, reported Lieutenant Commander David Park from the tactical station. I count 1,247 vessels, including 89 heavy battleships and 12 dreadnoughts. Acknowledged, Maria replied. Signal the fleet. Execute Operation Nightfall. Around the Centauri system, 50 human warships began to phase into normal space. They had been hiding in the spaces between dimensions, completely invisible to conventional sensors. The Shadow Fleet was humanity's greatest achievement, and today they would prove that technological superiority came from innovation, not just time. The Shadow Blade was the fleet's flagship, a work of art that combined deadly beauty with unimaginable power. Its hull was composed of dark matter-infused alloys that could shift between solid and ethereal states. Its weapons could strike through conventional shields as if they didn't exist. Its engines could push it through space at speeds that made it effectively teleport. "All ships report ready, Captain," announced Communications Officer Lisa Chen. "Admiral Cross is requesting permission to begin the engagement." "Permission granted," Maria replied. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what humanity can do." The first indication the Council fleet had of danger was when 3 of their heavy cruisers simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone, leaving only empty space and confused sensor readings. The attacks had come from nowhere, striking with weapons that bypassed every known defense. "What just happened?" Admiral Corthax demanded as alarms began sounding throughout the Galactic Dominion. "Where are our ships?" "Unknown weapons fire," reported the tactical officer. "The attacks came from vessels that don't appear on our sensors. Our ships were destroyed at the quantum level. Complete molecular disintegration." High Counselor Thextar felt a chill run through his cybernetic systems. "Impossible. No species in the galaxy has quantum-level weapons technology." "High Counselor," the sensor operator called out, "we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. The weapons appear to be dark matter-based, but the technology is far beyond our understanding." More Council ships began disappearing as the Shadow Fleet attacked from impossible angles. The human vessels would phase into normal space, fire their devastating weapons, and phase out again before the aliens could respond. It was like fighting ghosts that could kill with a touch. "Return fire," Thextar ordered. "All ships, maximum firepower." The Council fleet unleashed a barrage that could have sterilized a dozen worlds. Energy beams, plasma cannons, and antimatter missiles filled space with enough destructive force to crack moons, but their targets were no longer there. The human ships had shifted back into phase space, completely untouchable by conventional weapons. "Damage report," Admiral Corthax demanded. 17 ships destroyed. "High Counselor," came the horrified reply. 0 enemy casualties detected. "Our weapons are having no effect whatsoever." Counselor Vrath's metallic form shifted into a combat configuration, his body growing spikes and additional weapon systems. "This is impossible. Human technology is centuries behind ours." "Apparently not," Thextar replied grimly. "What are we facing out there?" His answer came in the form of a transmission that appeared on every screen in the Council fleet. Admiral Sarah Cross appeared, wearing the uniform of the Earth Defense Force. Behind her was the bridge of a ship that looked like it had been built from crystallized starlight. "Council forces," Admiral Cross said, her voice calm but carrying absolute authority. "I am Admiral Sarah Cross of the Earth Defense Force Shadow Fleet. You are hereby ordered to withdraw from the Centauri system immediately. You have 10 minutes to comply." The transmission ended, leaving the Council fleet in stunned silence. Thextar stared at the empty screen, trying to process what he had just heard. A human admiral was giving orders to the Galactic Council. "High Counselor," Admiral Corthax said quietly, "we still have overwhelming numerical superiority. Even with their advanced technology, we have over 1,000 ships remaining." Thextar nodded slowly. "Signal all ships. Concentrated fire on my command. If we can't hit them individually, we'll saturate the entire system with weapons fire." The final demonstration. Captain Maria Santos watched the Council fleet reposition itself for a massive coordinated attack. The alien ships were moving into a formation designed to create overlapping fields of fire that would cover every possible escape route. It was a sound tactical decision that might have worked against any conventional fleet. "They're learning," Lieutenant Commander Park observed, "trying to deny us maneuvering space." "Let them try," Maria replied. "Signal Admiral Cross. Request permission to demonstrate our full capabilities." Admiral Cross's voice came through the communication system. "Permission granted, Captain. Show them what the Shadow Fleet can really do." Maria turned to her weapons officer. "Prepare the quantum cascade array. Full power." The quantum cascade was humanity's ultimate weapon, a device that could destabilize the quantum structure of matter across vast distances. It had never been used in combat before, but theoretical projections suggested it could destroy hundreds of ships simultaneously. "Array charged and ready, Captain," the weapons officer reported. "Fire." The Shadow Blade unleashed a weapon that redefined the very concept of destruction. A wave of quantum energy swept through the Council fleet, not exploding their ships but simply erasing them from existence. Matter converted directly to energy, hulls dissolved into component atoms, and entire vessels ceased to exist in any meaningful sense. In less than 30 seconds, 400 Council ships were gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, but completely removed from reality. The remaining alien vessels found themselves suddenly outnumbered by weapons they couldn't understand, facing an enemy they couldn't fight. High Counselor Thextar watched his fleet disappear on the tactical displays. Centuries of military tradition, thousands of years of technological advancement, and the combined might of 12 species had just been rendered irrelevant by a species the Council had dismissed as primitive. "Casualties?" he asked quietly. 412 ships lost," Admiral Korthax reported, his metallic voice carrying tones of disbelief. "Complete destruction. No survivors, no wreckage, no energy signatures. They were simply erased. And our weapons? Still unable to target the enemy vessels. They exist in some kind of phase-shifted state that our sensors cannot detect." Thextar looked around the command center at the faces of his officers. For the first time in his centuries of service, he saw something he had never expected to see in alien eyes. Fear. The Galactic Council had ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force for 1,000 years. Today, they had discovered that they were no longer the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. His communication system activated, showing Admiral Cross again. This time, her expression was harder, more determined. "Council Fleet, this is your final warning. Withdraw from the Centauri system immediately, or we will demonstrate the full extent of our capabilities. You have seen what one of our ships can do. We have 49 more just like it." Thextar looked at his tactical display. The Shadow Fleet had revealed itself. 50 ships of impossible design hanging in space like dark angels of destruction. Each one was capable of erasing hundreds of Council vessels. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. "High Counselor," Counselor Vrath said quietly, "we cannot win this battle. Their technology is beyond our understanding. We must withdraw." "The Council does not retreat," Thextar replied automatically. "The Council does not lose entire fleets either," Admiral Korthax pointed out. "If we continue this engagement, we will be completely destroyed. Our civilization will lose its primary military force to a species we thought was primitive." Thextar stared at the impossible human ships for a long moment. Everything he had believed about the galaxy's power structure was wrong. The Council's dominance was based on technological superiority, and they had just discovered a species that made their greatest achievements look like stone tools. "Signal the fleet," he said finally. "All ships, prepare for strategic withdrawal." "High Counselor," came Admiral Cross's voice one final time. "Before you leave, there's something you need to understand. Humanity is not interested in conquest or domination. We don't want to rule the galaxy, but we will not be enslaved, and we will not be pushed around. The age of Council supremacy is over. From now on, we're all equals. The new galactic order." 6 months later, Elena Vasquez stood once again in the Galactic Council chambers. But everything had changed. The 12 elevated platforms were still there, but now there was a 13th platform at the same level as all the others. The human platform was no longer at the center of the circle, positioned as a supplicant. It was part of the circle, equal to all the rest. The council meeting was unlike any in galactic history. For the first time in 1,000 years, the various species were negotiating as equals rather than following the dictates of the strongest powers. The discovery that humanity possessed weapons capable of challenging the established order had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Terran Accords are acceptable to the hegemony, Councillor Vrath announced. His metallic form had been modified with new diplomatic protocols, designed to show respect rather than dominance. Humanity's proposals for trade agreements and defensive alliances have merit. High Councillor Thextar's cybernetic eye focused on Alina. The Dominion also finds the human proposals reasonable. Your species has demonstrated that the galaxy's power structure was due for revision. Alina nodded diplomatically. Humanity appreciates the Council's willingness to establish new relationships based on mutual respect and cooperation. We look forward to working together as partners rather than as subjects and rulers. The transformation had been remarkable. Within weeks of the Battle of Centauri, as historians were already calling it, dozens of previously oppressed species had begun asserting their independence. The Council's absolute authority had been broken, and the galaxy was reorganizing itself around principles of cooperation rather than domination. Earth's dark matter technology had been shared selectively, enough to ensure that no single species could dominate others, but not enough to create new oppressors. The Shadow Fleet remained humanity's guarantee of independence, but it had not been used aggressively. Admiral Cross had been true to her word. Humanity was interested in equality, not conquest. As the session concluded, Alina reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. The species that had once discussed enslaving millions of humans now treated her as an equal partner in galactic governance. The council chambers that had once felt like a prison now felt like a place where real progress could be made. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. True strength came not from dominating others, but from the determination to never be dominated. Humanity had spent 8 years preparing for this moment, and their preparation had changed the course of galactic history. The age of the Galactic Council's supremacy was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and at the center of it all was a species that had refused to accept the role of victim, choosing instead to become the galaxy's greatest defender of freedom and equality. The dark matter warships that had shattered the Council's will had done more than win a battle. They had won the right for every species in the galaxy to determine their own destiny, and that, Alina knew, was the greatest victory of all. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.